May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and recently Boyd Huppert met a woman spreading that awareness in a way that's touching thousands of teens.
Tonight, more on a new suicide prevention program expanding to 16 schools across central Minnesota and the very personal reason behind it.
So I get this question a lot.
In a Lester Prairie history classroom, the topic of the day
Question to ask
is the battle
is,
within.
are you thinking of killing yourself or are you thinking about suicide? It is extremely hard to say.
Every Lester Prairie 10th grader is learning this spring how to spot the signs of a classmate in a mental health crisis.
So our first step, looking for warning signs.
Class is sponsored by the Minnesota-based nonprofit To Be Continued, a name inspired by the nickname
She was Tui.
of Tammy Diehne's sister,
Yeah.
Shelly Tubert.
This is Shelly right here.
But what does Shelly have to do with those kids in that classroom
More helpful and tackle mental health.
at her old high school?
She died by suicide on January 21st, 2017.
The irony of her sister's death
Right.
has not been lost on Tammy.
She was a mental health nurse. She worked as a mental health nurse in an inpatient unit. She, cared for a lot of people and saved a lot of lives.
And it wasn't the first time.
Yeah.
Tammy's family has been touched by suicide.
My husband lost his brother to suicide in 1986.
So when Tammy brought in a speaker on suicide and packed a Lester Prairie church, she figured her community was ready to grow the conversation.
Tammy Diehn contacted me in June of 2021.
Melissa Radicke, the superintendent of Lester Prairie Schools, agreed to let her students be part of a pilot program.
We really felt that this was an important step to take.
But Tammy
So this is our third year.
It is really important.
was just getting started.
We want to make sure that we know exactly where our friend is at.
Melissa Burkett is now one of 4 To Be Continued instructors, traveling to 16 Minnesota high schools to teach a suicide prevention curriculum written by the National Council for Mental Well-Being.
16 schools, and there's already a waiting list for next year.
This spring, Sibley East High School became the first to certify every 10th, 11th, and 12th grader in mental health first aid,
They would be able to understand better.
including sophomores Abby Montoya, Addie Beneke, and Trayton Enter.
Could you see this potentially saving a life?
Most definitely,
I'd
yeah.
say so.
Makes sense,
To hear Sibley East English teacher Carrie Bartlett,
right?
it already has.
My plan was to end my life that day.
In her own mental health crisis,
Page 24.
Carrie remembered listening in
Yes.
on the To Be Continued instructor
Okay.
teaching in her classroom.
Never agree to keep a crisis a secret.
Carrie changed her plan.
Yeah. And then that day I ended up going to therapy. Without the curriculum, things would be very different for my family, my work family, and my home family.
This is Shelly right here.
Shelly's big sister has made sure she's not just a memory in family photos,
It's important.
but still counseling,
We want to guide a friend toward seeking appropriate help.
still saving lives.
What would Shelly think of this?
I think she'd be very proud. Yeah. She'd be happy.
Boyd Huppert, KARE 11 News, Arlington.
Sibley East was the first high school to certify every student 10th through 12th grade in mental health first aid, but they now have company. 2 weeks ago, Lester Prairie High School completed certification of all of its students as well. If you would like more information on the work of To Be Continued, you can find a link on KARE11.com.